morning, Namaskar. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, listeners and learners, doctors and directors, ministers and managers, dear friends, आज हमारे सभी भाई बहन बूढ़े बच्चे बुजुर्ग माता बहनें जो देख रहे हैं सुन रहे हैं, it is very nice and this place nice session. We are appreciating holy words of our holy Bible, Shri Guru Sahib, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Quran Sharif, numberless literatures and scriptures. Our great men, saints, free thinkers, philosophers, starters, beginners, initiators, creators, generators, operators have written in the presence of nature. Concept of nature is really praiseworthy, but exploitation, crime with nature, injustice with nature is not tolerable. Dear friends, how nature nurtures us, how nature treats us, how nature teaches us. This nature plays a great role in our life. Wordless to explain, words are short in place of this nature. Nature plays multi-dimensional, multi-sided, multifaceted roles in our life. Nature never leaves us alone. All natural objects and elements thereby our human body is made are praiseworthy, admirable, and appreciable. I'm sorry. Nature gives us, makes us oneness, equality, and unity in the whole world. Early in the morning, whenever we get up, we see nature, nature sees us. We listen nature, nature listens us. So, nature is the living partner of life, living form plays a great role in the form of true listener, true reader, true speaker, true writer, even true helper and healer of this human body. Nationally and internationally, we see nature plays an equal role for all the nationalistic, patriotistic personalities, persons, nations, countries. It is in the nature of nature that it devotes, dedicates itself for the welfare of humanity. What is humanity? What is nature? These are not only the words, but nature is the name of thought, and humanity is also name of the thought. When thought will come in action, then there will be equalization, oneness, whether we have discriminations, distinctions on the basis of any parameter, but naturally, constitutionally, we are made one. Oldest democratic nation of the world, the USA, whose newly elected president, Honorable Donald Trump, who addressed worldly people for establishing peace among the nations. When we go through the history of such developed nations, we find that all sacrificial bodies, those who born in the USA and abroad, they have one important aim for the nation and their personal life that was totally based upon democratic and mystic feelings of the nature. That means love with nature. So, nations, those who are under conflict, our present President of the USA addressed them for caring our nature, how we can protect and preserve natural resources, how we can protect principles and doctrines of our forefathers, foretellers, forecasters. It is really to be applied in our life. William Wordsworth, who was the mystic poet, William Wordsworth, who was the nature poet, Walt Whitman, who was the greatest mystic poet, they wrote about this democracy on the basis of the philosophy of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, who gave this definition of democracy by the people, of the people, for the people. Today, we see the practical form of this term in the true nationalistic and patriotistic countries of the world like India. India, which is the unique, incomparable, and matchless country of the world, with its largest population, 145 crore people. When we see, when we go through glimpses of the past in 19th and 20th century period, when this modern literature was written, at that time there was a revolution in industrialization. Before this time, if we study that, we find that there was relativity and connectivity with nature. In 1789, there was French Revolution. It was due to distinction, distances from nature. So there was no peace, no property, no prosperity. There was not the tranquility of heart and mind in the different citizens of the people. Ultimately, in the end of the 18th century, in 1798, William Wordsworth and S.G. Coleridge, both these personalities developed this ideology in the different educational points and stations by saying that nature never defeat, beat, deceive, or cheat us. Worldly people that we have around us may create distinction, may create distance, but nature never do so. Nature treats us equally. In the 18th century period, in the end of the 18th century period, peace and prosperity. It was only the healing and helping of the people from nature. William Wordsworth, who is who was explained in English literature, this nature helps us, heals us, and he makes it understand to her sister Dorothy Richardson. Never love with the worldly people because of selfishness. This nature plays a great role of selflessness. If we study, examine, observe, evaluate nature, this nature truly, selflessly help us. Like the sun in the morning time serves us with lightning and with a great source of energy. It provides energy publicly. Everyone nourished by, energized by the sun. In daytime, and we see the moon at night time, the stars at night time. These are the sources of energy. Instead of air, source of air, source of fire, source of sky, source of water, when we see the sun, it recreates, regenerates, and re energizes us, tells us, handles us like a friend because of its nature. All natural objects and elements that we have around us really shows the presence of Lord or God and tells us how we should lead our life selflessly, purely, anyhow. Let us discuss history of the 18th century period from 1800 from 1798 to 1835. It was the time of starting of the modernization. Because in 19th and 20th century period, There was the revolution in industrialization. As we read that first train was started in India in 1853, and there was first battle started by Indians against English people in 1857. These are the important dates in the history that we study. In the different decades, different centuries, we find that there was the presence of Lord or God in the form of human being, individually and as well as collectively. God shows His presence on this earth. What were the consequences of revolution in industrialization? We see in the end of the 19th century period, where there was also the emergence of great men, social reformists like Swami Vivekananda, Rajaram Mondoy, who started Brahm Samaj, Dhyanand Saraswati, who started Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, which was started by Swami Vivekananda, and there was the birth of Mahatma Gandhi in 1869. There was the starting of the formation of Congress in 1885. One important thing we see in the end of this 19th century, that it was the journey by Swami Vivekananda in the USA in 1893. But before it, in 1892, there was the demise of Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman, who is known as the mystic poet in English literature, Whitman explains, defines, describes demise of Abraham Lincoln. He was influenced by this personality because of freedom, mysticism, spiritualism. He wrote Leaves of Grass. He penned down about leaves of grass. It was a very important epic like Ramcharitmanas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita. He also wrote Leaves of Grass in praise of nature. He wrote different poems, Fairy Queen, Song of the Open Road, for explaining the meaning of freedom. As well, he describes in detail the thought of Americans. Americans provided the unique term in the Constitution, that is democracy. Unity and diversity that we practically see in India. Actually, this unity and diversity is the natural principle that was taken by that was taken up by Dr. Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar constitutionally because of Indian varieties, diversities, adversities. It was necessary, and this principle was used practically by Baba Sahib after independence. These basic terms of the constitution we feel in nature. Dear friends, when we read the history, literature, stories, novels, dramas that were written in 14th and 15th century period, as the starter, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj came in 1469. Our Indian Holy Land was discovered by Vasco da Gama in 1498. In the 15th century period, there was the birth of William Shakespeare in 1564. When there was the starting of Dark Age, our scholars, those who are studying in Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Atlanta, Pennsylvania, they read this thing that Shakespeare's writings were very popular at that time because of tragedies at that time. The advancements and development in the communication, transportation, as we see today, as we use today. So, with the freedom of thought and expression, we read there was Shakespearean tragedies very popular, as Shakespeare himself has written that tragedy creates pity and fear. It purifies us, it brings naturality and purity in us, but not comedy. It is rightly said that 9 days are wonders in defense of comedy, not tragedy. So when we go through the philosophy of such saints, those who were the starters like Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, Saint Kabir, founder and father of dramas, William Shakespeare, starter of the Sacha Soda in words, Shah Ji Maharaj, they praised. So there are similarities we find in the teachings of such saints. Accordingly, without any narrownesses, essayist Oliver Goldsmith, who has written National Prejudices. Your country without hating with another country. There were two ideologies that were prevailing at that time. Platonic theory, it was very common with the starters and William Wordsworth. But in the advancement of the creation of this nature, we read Aristotelian thoughts. On the one hand, we read that according to Platonic theory, idea comes first before the formation of this creation. So the base of the creation of the formation, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, who explained about word power. The whole world was created by the word around us, that is due to creation of the word. When there was the time of wordlessness, it was also the existence of presence of Lord or God. According to the holy scriptures of this holy land, we read in the chapter of the Genesis, word itself came in the form of physical body on this earth. Further, it was developed in the form of Aristotelian thought. Aristotle, who says that this word is the result of the imitation, because some imitators came and as we read this principle in the development of the child psychology, a child learns by imitation from his parents, likely that Aristotle scientifically says we have grown, our word has come in form. But Plato says when there was ideology, at that time there was not the existence of physical, emotional, intellectual bodies of this human being. Americans, American poets have written this thing. We can take the example of Robert Frost, who has written in his poem Dark and Deep that I have promises miles to go before I sleep. Such ideologies we read in the writings of American poets. Americans, American poets were in favor of transcendentalistic theory. As we listen from our present Prime Minister Modi ji, who explains, who tells in favor of perform, reform and transform. These are the steps. Today, transformation theory in the world has come from transcendentalism of Americans. How we can transform ideologically, it can be understood from the 20th century period writers when there was the climax, culmination of the revolution in industrialization, there was exploitation, injustices of the poor people, developing countries. So, Germany and Italy, these two countries were defeated. Hitler and Mussolini became tyranny in the form of being dictator and tyranny. These persons were shown their success winning by negative motivation. It happened in 20th century period. It was the climax of science. So, in between these centuries, decades, we read American thought was based upon capitalism and Russian thought was based upon socialism. Americans were in favor of capitalists, means in favor of, they were in favor of Platonic thoughts by being socialists. Germany and Italy, these two countries, today we experience that these two countries are the part of Britishers, European continent, and enjoyed freedom throughout the throughout its existence. How Germany and Italy, Mussolini and Hitler became over nationalistic and started Second World War. Dear friends, today we see that it is the revolution in technology. Technology is not the form of, not only a whole of Lord, but it's the part of Lord. If there is revolution in technology, how it can show the presence of nature, the presence of perfect formation of Lord or God. Today it has become a great challenge for developing countries. As our country is not the developing country spiritually, its spiritual values, moral values human values are really recordable, historical, praiseworthy in the world. What's the result of technology? Technology positively has created miracles, magics of the presence of Lord or God. We observe it in nature as we see everywhere there is the presence of Lord or God in the form of ray of light and wave of sound. These two facts of creation was also popular since the beginning of this universe. Similarly, today we are using these technologies for the welfare of humanity. Every advancement, technology, technological change have merits and demerits, do's and don'ts, advantages and disadvantages. It depends upon the mind of user. Today, our scholars have become the blind believers of this technology, generativity, and operativity. Imitation is good, recording is good, downloading is good, if that is used for the welfare of humanity. Otherwise, our great men have explained that imagination is the best educational technology that should be used all over the world by analyzers, observers, evaluators, researchers from